Even though Corkus may not have made it out of the Eclipse or past Volume 13 of Berserk, he still to this day is a character that you can't forget, even if most people really want to. What most people tend to remember about Corkus is that he was loud, boisterous, heavily opinionated, and mostly really annoyed by Guts, going on a few times to say he straight up hated Guts. And considering Guts is our protagonist, it's no wonder why this would make most fans upset, especially considering we, as the audience, know Guts' entire story. But even though, with Guts' story, there is a ton of symbolism that we can apply to our own lives and use his struggle as motivation or inspiration to continue forward even after experiencing horrible situations. However, there are plenty of aspects of Guts' character that most readers will never be able to relate to. His size, his strength, determination, and will to find his own purpose in life is a direction that many of us wish to follow, but generally we are too afraid and uncertain of ourselves to actually attempt it. The risk involved with this lifestyle, whether it be the lone survivor or the man leaving the Band of the Hawk to stand on his own 2 feet and find his purpose, from a reader standpoint, this is great characterization, but from Corkus's point of view, he had a great bit of contention with it. And why? And why will understanding Corkus's character a little bit more show you that he might have been more than just a thorn in our sides while reading. See, most people envision themselves as a Guts-like persona. We all want to be the hero of our own stories, and I think that this is important and it's powerful. But what might anger people so much about Corkus isn't that he's an antagonizing force for Guts, but that Corkus reminds them of their own lives and their deep insecurities. Corkus is more aligned with the average man, and this is a frustrating thing for some people, because if they place themselves within the Band of the Hawk, they know deep down the character they would probably most resemble would be Corkus. But this isn't all a bad thing either. See, one of the most telling scenes is in chapter 33. This is where Judo and Corkus take Guts to a tavern when they hear that he's trying to leave, and they just want to understand why he would want to leave the Band of the Hawk when they had just become more successful than ever. Judo interrogates Guts' choice while Corkus is just trying to mac on some fine honeys, and mostly gets distracted while trying to get his rocks off. Meanwhile, Guts states that he doesn't want Griffith looking down on him. Instead, he wants to accomplish something for his own and stand beside him as his equal. But Corkus just can't understand. He can't understand why Guts can't just enjoy what he has. He talks about how incredibly rare it is for commoners like them to come as far as they have, to be looked at as heroes, to have people praise them, and the fact that they will soon be nobles. The fact that they can just go into a tavern, flirt with the waitress, and because of his status, probably take her home that night and give her the old Corkus 2-finger shuffle. To an extent, it makes Corkus angry to see the look in Guts' eyes. That look that Guts hasn't complied and gotten content. That Guts wants something more than living in the shadow of his leader. And even more so, that Guts shouldn't have the right to desire so much. Remember, Corkus doesn't know Guts' life story and the tragedy of his childhood. All Corkus knows is that this is a man who does nothing but swing a sword really good, and that Guts would be nothing without Griffith and the Band of the Hawk raising him up. Corkus believes that if he himself can be content within this privilege that they've established, then someone like Guts should absolutely be happy where he's at. And the fact that Guts wants to see himself on the level of Griffith sends visceral disgust down Corkus' spine. But it's only when Corkus confronts Guts about these facts that Guts asks him if he ever had anything that he dreamed of, something that was important to him. He is unable to answer and walks off in a huff. This is where Judo explains that Corkus once led a very small band of thieves before they were overtaken and lost to the Hawks, in which he joined soon after. Corkus maybe did have dreams. Maybe he wanted to be looked up to as well. He envisioned himself as that hero. Even the scene where he is on the front lines ready to give the command for the rest of the Band of the Hawk to attack, that scene is played for humor, but it fits into his character. The way Corkus showboats when the Hawks get a victory, and the way that he trembles before a fight begins. Don't forget that he is a warrior too. He can fight, and he has survived many battles. But he's not on that level. and he never pushed himself to get there to the extent that someone like Griffith or Guts would. CORKUS most likely became overwhelmed by the sheer amount of tenacity and sacrifice that you would have to make in order to become a man of that high of status. His leadership of a measly 10 men probably made him feel like he was on top of the world when it happened. And when that was taken away, perhaps beaten by Griffith one-on-one similar to Guts, CORKUS saw his dream shattered and swallowed before his eyes. Swallowed up into the gigantic raging fire that is Griffith. CORKUS saw the prize, but not the struggle. He saw the high nobles enjoying the nice parties, the fancy clothes, the women swooning over him, and the delicious food and drinks. It's my belief that he wanted to earn these things for himself, but reality hit hard with its cold, unforgiving nature, and CORKUS realized the only way he could actually obtain these things is to live in service of another man. His dignity gone, and he continued to justify it just as he justifies it to Guts, saying that Griffith is not like them, that he's one in a million and nobody could ever do what he did. Though this may be true, what Griffith did was accomplished by his determination to his dream, that by any means necessary mentality. Whether that's him as a hero or a villain, all is in service of that dream. CORKUS doesn't want Guts to escape the thrall of Griffith's hold because it would show CORKUS that he could have done the same. That it's possible, but he didn't. And CORKUS lashing out at Guts is just him trying to keep Guts at his level. And I think that all his berating of Guts throughout the Golden Age arc is in service of that point as well. He doesn't want Guts to ascend higher because he doesn't believe that he has the right to. And what's worse is that it shows CORKUS what he wished he could be and the things that he wished he could do. I don't take any of CORKUS's shit-talking literally when he's lashing out at Guts. To me, it's only a reflection of a broken man not knowing how else to react within this world. And let's look at it from CORKUS's point of view. He does actually have a right to be saying these things because he did work extremely hard within the Band of the Hawk. He did fight in hundreds of battles. He did put his life on the line every single time he unsheathed the sword, and he saw opportunity within the Band of the Hawk and basked in it while trying to put on the persona that he was the man. And many times he was. He did get to enter the halls of rich noble ballrooms. He did get to be praised and admired by the entire kingdom of people. He did get to enjoy those sloppy corky toppies from some fine young maidens. No maidens? Psh, CORKUS got maidens. CORKUS got all the material pleasures that he wanted, and he was still determined to enjoy them to their fullest extent. And you know, there is actually a little bit we can learn from that. Maybe CORKUS did sacrifice his dreams, but he still wanted to enjoy what he had. And the more successful that he got, the more he gulled those spoils. And is that so wrong? And again, if you were in this position, what would you do? Would you be more likely to face Griffith for your freedom and walk the lonely road of self-discovery? Or would you bask in the pleasures of life and be content with it? I guarantee that most everyone would probably follow the road that CORKUS did. And that's why you can pick on CORKUS as much as you want, but I think what angers people so much about him is how much he reminds them of themselves. That part that they keep pressed deep down, the deep insecurity that he puts on a front to hide. He actively puts others down to raise himself up. Actually, kind of sounds like a YouTube comment section, but he also represents that casual, broken man. The one who's left his dreams far behind and thinks on such a realistic level that he won't let himself believe that they're still possible. CORKUS's death is both comical and telling about his personality. He's trapped in a demonic hell dimension and sees a beautiful naked woman. The entire time he tells himself that this is just a dream, only a dream. To the bitter end, CORKUS copes with his reality. He knows this woman before him is not what she appears to be, but he buries his face in those tits anyway, waiting for his inevitable death. CORKUS, just as he accepted his place under Griffith, accepted his fate at the end. He is not the struggler. He is not the one to fight until his last breath. He knows he will never be like them. In fact, he's convinced himself of it so strongly that he would never have the chance to really know. He would rather accept his final moments with a few seconds of comfort nuzzled softly within a pair of nice boobies, then pick up the sword for one final time. And that's because CORKUS didn't embrace the struggle. He didn't want to. He just wanted to enjoy his life. He worked hard for what he wanted, and he wanted to see a return for those efforts. No more and no less. So maybe CORKUS won't be remembered fondly by most Berserk fans, but I think that there are some things that we can learn from him, whether good or bad. And to me, I still think CORKUS is a G in his own way.